Hello, and thank you for taking the time to look at this presentation. This watercolour isn't a great one, but it's shown here to prove that it is possible to rescue even quite serious mistakes when you're painting a watercolour. It is all down to using the right material, as I hope I can soon prove to you. Looking around for a subject, I came across several photographs of Byberry. It's a pretty and obviously photogenic village in the Cotswolds. I decided it would make a fair watercolour, although as usual when using a photograph as an image source, there was of necessity going to be a lot of selecting and adaptation to do. Naturally, I wasn't going to attempt to slavishly copy any of the photographs I'd found. There'd be little point in painting at all if all I ended up with was a mediocre reproduction of a good photograph. My view has always been that if you want a photographic detail and accuracy, you'd best use a camera, not paint a watercolour. Like any painting, a watercolour should represent a mood, an atmosphere, and should, with luck, reach out and strike a chord with the viewer in a way that even the finest photography can't achieve. So in this painting, with faults and all, it is simply entitled An English Village. I hope you enjoyed the process I used to reach that final image. This is the sketch I made based, as I described, upon a couple of original photographs. The scene has been considerably simplified and adapted. The drawing was produced using Saunders Waterford 300 GSM knot surface paper stretched to a thick ply baseboard. I used HB and B grade pencils. I find that 2B, although very good to use, does tend to smudge rather, and it smudges both with the hands and also when applying the watercolour itself. The drawing is approximately 15 inches by 9.5 or 38 centimetres by 24 centimetres. I taped around the pencilled frame size with masking tape to provide a white border on the finished painting. I started by using a large wash brush to wet the whole surface. For preliminary washes I used cobalt blue and neutral tint for the sky and yellow ochre for the cottages. All other areas were given a light wash with varied wet-in-wet mixes of cobalt and yellow ochre. I only use artist quality paint, and it's usually Winsor & Newton's paint. The yellow areas on the chimneys you can see here were protected before I wet anything with masking medium. Some flecks were also added to the road surface to later be used to represent a gritty, stony surface. Masking medium is waterproof and can be easily removed once the painting is complete or at any time the artist wishes. I don't recommend overuse as I feel it can look a bit contrived, and it also gives you a hard edge, but in moderation it can be very useful. It's easily removed from the paper by gentle rubbing with a fingertip. At this point in the painting I used a green mixed from cobalt blue and lemon yellow and added some patches of colour to the tiled roofed areas using dilute mixes of purple madder, quinacridone gold and chrome orange. The primary aim when painting this picture was to create what photographers used to call aerial perspective. They probably still do call it that, of course. It's a way of describing the fading effect that atmosphere has upon colour and on contrast, at times such as early morning or when the day's hazy. Warmer colours, reds and yellows, are affected much more by this effect than colder ones, such as blue and purple, and the more distant the object is, the less contrast and colour it possesses. This creates the blue remembered hills of Houseman's Shropshire Lad poem. And it is true, especially in the English climate, that often the distant hills are indeed blue and fainter, and the further away they are, the bluer and fainter they appear. The effect is still evident with nearer objects, such as houses, and to attempt to achieve that effect, the roofs of the middle to far distant cottages have been given preliminary colours with a desaturated and faint blue, and pale washes pick out their windows and doors. The far stone wall is also blue along with other parts of the picture. These are preliminary colours, remember. The tiles on the nearer cottages have started to be indicated by using slabs of colour applied by a small flat brush. Greenery comes next, and the foreground grasses are vaguely indicated, along with the left front bush and the climbing plant up the front of the houses. A mixed wash of Naples yellow and gamboge tints the cottage walls. After allowing this to dry, I was concerned that I might have overdone the strength of the washes, but I decided to let it stand until more of the painting was worked on. It's sometimes difficult to be sure that you have the balance of the painting correct, unless it is close to completion. But that doesn't worry me and Julie. It's a pleasant surprise to find when working on quality paper, removal of at least a fair proportion of the overdone colour can be carried out without destroying the surface of the paper. But don't try this with cartridge paper. Work continues as I add more colour and detail to the tiling, bushes and grass. Details are now being added as the gutters, drain pipes, doors and windows begin to appear. I rubbed away the dabs of masking medium along the foot of the cottage walls and painted them with a bright cadmium red. The window in the upper gable of the nearest cottage was used as a guinea pig as I tested out a way to detail it. Two of the doors were given a wash of purple, darkened with neutral tint toward their tops. More details are now added. The windows, all doors and roof lines are picked out. As always, I'm working from the general to the particular, or if you prefer, from the large, the whole picture or the large wash areas within it, to the small details. What really matters is knowing when to stop. As I often say, a watercolour is not a photograph, and excessive detail can make them look fussy and contrived. The distant trees are depicted with suitably pale washes of a green, made with a cobalt and lemon yellow, with tree trunks and branches painted with thin Payne's grey. More detail now as the road stones are picked out. The dabs of masking medium on the road surface were rubbed off with a fingertip, leaving them white, a little too white, but a touch of neutral tint and also raw umber brought them back to life. Other spots of paint, such as raw umber and burnt umber and Naples yellow, variegated to the road, were used, and lines of gravel were created to help lead the eye into the picture. Dark wooden posts march around the right-hand road edge. At this stage I realised I wasn't happy with the appearance of the left-hand stone wall as it climbed the bank. It just didn't look right. This close-up should show what I mean. I tried my best with it and it was true to the original photographs, unlike much of the picture where I took many liberties, but I finally decided to do something about it, and I've mentioned before the ability of good watercolour paper to withstand scrubbing, and that's exactly what I did. I scrubbed it. The wall and part of the bushes behind it were scrubbed gently away using an old toothbrush, well wetted of course. After blotting with paper towel, this was the effect. Admittedly, the paper isn't pristinely white, but good enough, and the way has been cleared to carry out remedial work. Here's a close-up that shows the bush I created to hide the repair. It also helped to make the lighter cottage wall stand out. I added a line of stones to the right-hand edge of the path where it led up to the middle distant cottages. Final touches include the reflections in the window panes, added with permanent white gouache, and the yellow flowers in the climbing plant, which is another use of masking medium. As I admitted at the start, this is far from my best work, but I do offer it here as an example of how problems with watercolour need not signal total failure. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. If you have, why not take a look at my website where there are several other examples of my watercolour paintings and also details of the books I've written. You'll find the link below this video in the description panel. Thanks once again for watching. Cheerio for now.